Hi everyone, welcome back to Booga Buggie Kid Stories, which are silly stories about a pretty silly bug. And in today's story, Booga Buggie goes to the bowling alley and tricks Elon and his friends at a birthday party. Well, stay tuned and let's find out what happens. It was an exciting day today. Elon was off to one of his friend's birthday parties, and it was at a bowling alley. Elon had never been bowling before, so he was excited to try it out and to see what bowling was really like. So Elon and his dad hopped in their truck and drove to the bowling alley. But someone else also hopped in the truck. It was Booga Buggie. He saw them driving away, quickly ran up and jumped in the back. He figured they were going off for some sort of crazy adventure, and he wanted to be a part of it and maybe play a couple tricks. Booga Buggie had no idea where they were going. Well, a little while later, they arrived at the bowling alley. They pulled up, hopped out of the truck, and walked in to the building. Booga Buggie looked around, and he saw this big sign with a huge ball and some white-looking things, which are actually pins, but he didn't know what they were. He was interested in what was going to happen, so he followed them sneakily and crawled into the building as well. So Elon and his dad waited their turn, and they went up to the counter. They had to tell the person behind the counter their shoe size to get fancy bowling shoes. These bowling shoes were colorful and a lot different than regular shoes. And Elon's dad had to explain to Elon, they do this so that bowling shoes don't wreck the floor of the bowling alley, and you can't wear your regular shoes there. Kind of like how you have inside shoes at school and outside shoes. Bowling alleys have inside bowling shoes. So Elon met all of his friends at the birthday party, and they were really excited. Each of the kids entered their name on a little computer, which then showed their name on a big screen right above their bowling lane. As all of the kids went down onto the area where you'd start bowling, Booga Buggie snuck up, and he typed his name into the computer as well. When the kids looked up at the computer screen above, who's Booga Buggie? They all thought. And then Elon's like, I know Booga Buggie. He's a silly bug. How did he get here? And they looked around but couldn't find him anywhere. So it was Jack's turn first. Jack grabbed a ball, threw it as hard as he could, and the ball flew down the floor in this little path to the pins at the back where you tried to hit them down. And in each of the pins, when you hit them, they're worth some points. If you get them all down, you get a strike, and you have a couple tries to do it. So the ball was getting closer and closer and closer. And as the ball was almost going to hit them, all of a sudden, the pin that it was going to hit right in the middle moved out of the way of the ball. The ball went right through to the back, and it didn't hit any of the pins because that one moved. All of the kids stood there looking at each other. They thought it was funny, but they were also really confused. What's going on? They thought. So Jack took the ball again for his second try, threw it as hard as he could, and this time he aimed at a different one on the edge. The ball was going and going and going, got really close, and again, the pin on the edge moved out of the way of the ball in the last second, and the ball didn't hit them again, and Jack was so confused. Well, Jack's turn was over, and now it was going to be Ellis's turn. So Ellis grabbed the ball and threw it as hard as he could, and he tried for a different pin because he knew that those two pins had moved for Jack. So he tried the pin on the opposite edge, threw it down and rolling, and same thing happened to Ellis. So he grabbed another ball and he tried it, and again I'm going to go for the middle one this time. I'm going to throw it faster and harder, and I'm going to hit it before it moves. So he threw the ball, and it rolled and rolled, and again the pin moved. What's happening? They all thought. No one can get any of these pins, and we can't score any points. So it was Elon's turn now, and Elon had a great idea. Elon said, well, instead of throwing one ball and the pin moving out of the way, Why don't we all grab a ball and we all throw it at once? So all of the kids there at the birthday party, there was probably about 8 of them, grabbed a bowling ball, and Elon said, on the count of 3, let's throw it. No way all of the pins can move. 3, 2, 1, throw! And just like that, all of the birthday kids threw the ball down the bowling alley, and the balls went down closer and closer and closer. As they got close to the pins, the one in the front fell down before they hit it, and it fell forward. And then all of a sudden, that pin started bonking all of the bowling balls off of the bowling lane. It was almost like a baseball bat hitting some baseballs. Bonk, 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 all over the place. And none of the balls knocked any of the pins down except for that one that was already down and bonking it. And then after it bonked all of the bowling balls away, it stood up again. And again, no points for Elon. None of the kids at the birthday party were able to score points. Even the parents were super confused and went over to the person behind the counter to ask them what was happening and do they have some silly magic bowling pins or something. The person behind the counter said, no, they don't have any magic bowling pins, but I'll go check it out. So the worker at the bowling alley walked down to the pins and looked at them and picked them up to inspect them. They seemed like regular pins to him. So he went back to the parents and to the kids and said, no, there's nothing different with these pins. They're the same that we've always used, and I've never seen this happen before. So he went back to behind the counter to hand out other special shoes to other kids that were coming to play. Well, it was the second round, and it was back to Jack's turn, and he didn't know what to do. How am I going to get these pins down, and what's going on with them? So they thought, well, what if we throw a couple balls like what we did on Elon's turn, and we throw some of them fast and some of them slow. So I thought that was a pretty good idea. So for Jack's first turn, they all grabbed balls. They threw them. Some of the kids threw them super fast. Some of the kids threw them super slow, so that the balls would all be coming at different times. But again, that first pin fell down, and again, like a baseball bat, bonked all the balls away, one after the other. Bonk, 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 bonk. And again, no one could score. They tried a couple different ways to bonk those pins down, and it was the end of round 2. All the kids had tried, and after 2 rounds, no one had any points. Elon had a suspicion that Booga Buggie was up to something no good. Because he wrote his name down on the computer, he knew he was there. And Booga Buggie never showed up when it was his turn to bowl, so they just kept skipping his turn through the first and second round. And they had got through the third round now, and again, no one was able to score. But this time, just before they were about to skip Booga Buggie, they saw something pretty weird. A bowling ball looked like it was rolling on the ground all by itself. But then they saw what was making it roll. It was a little teeny tiny ant. Ha! It's Booga Buggie, Elon said, pointing at the ant. Booga Buggie pushed the bowling ball with all his might down the bowling lane, and it wasn't going straight. It was actually going a little bit crooked because he'd never bowled before, and it was only going to hit the one on the side, so he'd get a point. And it bonked it, but then all of a sudden, all of the other pins just fell down, and Booga Buggie was jumping up and down, and he had a smile from ear to ear, although none of the kids could see it because he's so teeny tiny. But he had got a strike. Woohoo, thought Booga Buggie. He was winning the game, and he was the first one to hit the pins. Jack, Ellis, and Elon looked at each other, and they were pretty confused because he had only hit the pin on the edge, and the ball didn't even hit the other pins, but the other pins just fell down as well. And they thought, well, that's not how bowling should work. What's going on here? Well, outside of Booga Buggie, no one was able to score any points. The pins kept moving out of the way, and then every time Booga Buggie bowled, all of the pins kept falling down. Booga Buggie kept getting strike after strike after strike, and all the other kids kept getting a miss after miss after miss. Now, Elon and his friends had an idea. They were going to wait until it was Booga Buggie's turn. And then just as Booga Buggie was going to bowl, they were all going to run down to the end of the bowling lane, and they were going to watch to see what was happening. And so just as Booga Buggie bowled the ball, They ran down faster than the ball could go. They got to the pins and they watched him. And what they saw underneath was there was a ton of tiny little ants underneath all of the different pins. It was Booga Buggie's family, his cousins and his aunts and uncles. And they were moving the pins around, and they would move them so that the ball would hit them, and if it didn't hit them, they would fall over as if it would hit them. And so they knew that Booga Buggie was playing a trick on them. Now that they knew what was going on, they needed to figure out a plan, how to stop the trick, so that they could actually play regular bowling and score some points. And if there's something you need to know about ants, is ants love sugar. So they went to a little vending machine that they had inside of the bowling alley, and one of the parents bought some delicious Skittles. And what they did is they put some Skittles on the ground right by the bowling lane where you get the bowling balls. And all of Booga Buggie's friends and family that were underneath the pins, they smelled the Skittles and they raced off to them to go have a delicious Skittle feast. Booga Buggie didn't realize it at the time. And so Jack went and he bowled and got a strike. And then Ellis went, got a ball, bowled and got a strike. And then Elon went and he got a strike too. They were all getting strikes because they were so good at bowling by this point. And Booga Buggie was watching them and saying, "What? How are they scoring? What's my family doing over there? They were supposed to move the pins so that they couldn't get any points." He said, "Oh, well, I'm still in the lead, so I'll just keep going." So Booga Buggie grabbed one of the bowling balls, and he didn't see the Skittles or his family having a feast. So he grabbed that bowling ball and he threw it down, and again, he's still not very good at bowling, and so it went off to the edge, and it only got one of them, and he was waiting for all the other pins to drop down, and they didn't. So he waited, and they didn't, and then it was Jack's turn next, and he thought, "What? I only got 1 point for that? What's going on?" So Booga Buggie raced down the bowling lane to see what was happening, and he got there, and none of his family was under the pins. And it had already turned to Jack's turn, so Jack was bowling, and Booga Buggie looked up, and there's this huge bowling ball coming towards him that almost hit him, so he had to race out of the way. And Jack bowled again, and then Ellis, and then Elon, and they were all bowling so fast that Booga Buggie was just going, racing from side to side, trying not to get squished by this huge bowling ball. And so by the end of the game, Jack, Ellis, Elon, and the other kids at the birthday party had caught up to Booga Buggie for points in the bowling game. And it came to the last turn. Elon was in the lead by 1 point, and all of his friends were just behind him in second place. And it was Booga Buggie's turn, and Booga Buggie had one more ball to go to see if he could win. And by this time, his family had finished the delicious Skittles feast, and they raced back to try to help Booga Buggie win the game. As they were racing, they realized that all of their little teeny tiny ant legs were super sticky from all the Skittles. And so as they were going back on the bowling lane, they got stuck, and they couldn't make it to the pins. Booga Buggie had thought his family was going to be there, so he bowled, and he got a gutter ball, which means he didn't hit any of the pins. And again, he was waiting for all the pins to fall down because he knew his family and friends had gone back. But he didn't know they were stuck. And so, woohoo, Elon won and his friends came in second, and they were all super excited, and Booga Buggie came in last. But Booga Buggie realized that he had lots of fun, and he needed to go search for his family to see where they were. So he crawled down the lane, and he found them, and he got a little washcloth to get them unsticky. And they had to race quickly to Elon's truck so that they can get a ride home. Elon and his friends had so much fun at the birthday party. They had all become really great bowlers, and they wanted to come back to bowl another day, but probably not invite Booga Buggie because he plays too many tricks. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed this silly story about Booga Buggie playing some tricks at the bowling alley. Feel free to give a rating or a review wherever you listen to Booga Buggie podcasts, or tell your friends at school about it. Stay tuned for more episodes. Bye for now.